What's going on, everyone? Thank you for clicking on this video. Today I'm hoping to give you some good information on a 20-inch folding electric bike from Fabulous Bikes. Now, full disclosure, this bike is here courtesy of Fabulous. I didn't purchase the bike. They sent me this so I could ride and test and have fun on it and share my experience with some of you on YouTube. Maybe help you to decide if the Fabulous Mini X Step-Through is a bike you want to consider. Now, I like to give you all the basic stats on the bike right out the gate. So here we go. It's a 20-inch wheel bike and it folds. It's got hydraulic disc brakes on it, 6 mechanical gears, a 52 tooth chain ring. The battery pack is a 48 volt, 15.6 hour battery pack. The rear motor, it's a hub motor, 500 watt, but it peaks much higher. I saw it peaking about high 700s, even low 800s sometimes for the peak watts on the motor. The rack and fenders and suspension seat post are all included. It has a complete lighting package on it, so you've got headlight, tail light, brake light, and turn signals. The minimum seat height is about 33 inches from the ground to the top of the seat. The step-through height's pretty low. It's about 15 inches to get your foot through that step-through. Weight capacity on the bike, they list at 250 pounds. And the bike itself weighs about 65 pounds, at least on my scale. Take the battery out, it weighs about 50 pounds. The Mini lineup from Fabulous also comes in various frame designs and various colors, and I'll put the current price on the screen for you. Now that you know all the basics, we can take a close-up look at the bike. I'll show you things in more detail, and then we'll talk about the performance of the bike, and then I'll wrap it up at the end with kind of what you need to know about the Mini X Step-Through. So let's get started. All right, so here's an overall look at the Mini X Step-Through from Fabulous Bikes. And I mentioned that this Mini lineup comes in different frame options. So the difference is there's 3 different frames to pick from. You can do the Step-Through frame, like this one. You can do the Mini Extreme, which they say is a cross frame design. I guess refer to it as the step over version. And then they have the Mini Havoc, which is a frame design that has a dual suspension. It has a rear shock on it, so you have both front and rear suspension on the Havoc design. It also comes in multiple colors. They offer, this is turquoise. They also offer black, white, and red. Now, I always appreciate when companies give you a little bit of a choice like that, so it's not just one design and one color fits all. You've got some options here to choose from. All right, so let's take a look at some of the pieces and parts up close. For the wheel and tire package, they're mag wheels. So not spoke wheels. I guess that's good. You don't have to maintain the correct tension on your spokes. You get mag wheels on this Mini, and it is not a quick release front wheel. It has hydraulic disc brakes on it. So they're 160 millimeter, and their Gemma is the brand. They were awesome, honestly. One of the standout features on this bike really was the brakes. This thing stops on a dime. The hydraulic brakes on this tiny little bike, they almost felt like overkill. They worked really well. I was very pleased with the brakes on it. The tires, it's more of a smooth street tread on the tires, and they're Innova tires. They say 20x3, but they're not 3 inches wide. That's more like 2 inches wide, maybe 2.5. So they're, if you're looking for a fat tire bike, this isn't a fat tire bike. And I mean, I suppose if you wanted to put more of an aggressive tread pattern on there with a different tire, you could, but most people are probably gonna ride this on the street, I would think. So these were good on the street. They were quiet, so quiet. You couldn't hear this thing coming at all. So I was fine with the tires. I would keep them on there. I wouldn't change them out. I think they fit the bike perfectly. You do have a front suspension fork on here, and you don't have a rear suspension on this particular frame style, the step-through, but they do give you a suspension seat post included, so you've kind of got a dual suspension on there. Your headlight mounted right on the top of the fork there, and this is just one switch. Turn that on, it's really easy right here. Boom, you just flip the switch and light's probably on. Yep, there you go. And taillight probably came on as well. Yeah. Glowing taillight. So it's got headlights, taillights, brake lights, and turn signals. Here's the turn signal switch right here. And if we go back to the bike, it's got turn signals on the back. It does not have turn signals on the front though, but that's fine. It's pretty rare that bikes will actually give you turn signals. It does come with a horn too. Kind of a loud horn, but I like the bells better. I think they're more courteous, but the horn works. Full lighting package on the bike. I like that. You don't have to remember the combination of buttons to hit to turn everything on. And actually, I didn't even have to turn the bike on to get that stuff to work. I didn't even have the display on. Now, this Mini X Step-Through does fold as well. Folds up really compact. It's got the same folding mechanisms that pretty much all of these folding bikes have. It folds here on the handlebars, and then right here in the center of the bike, you can put up a video of me folding it. Very simple to do, very easy. It's pretty light once you get it folded and don't have the battery out. It only weighs, I think, 55 pounds. Without the battery in it, that battery weighed about 10.5 pounds on my scale. And it actually arrives to you all folded up in a box. If I remember correctly, there was no setup on this bike at all. There was nothing to do. You didn't even have to attach the headlight, I don't think. It was folded up in the box, and I just unpacked it and unfolded it, and it was pretty much ready to go. So if you're worried about doing setup, you really don't have to do much setup with this thing at all. Now coming up here to the front for the wire management, they did a pretty good job here. They've got this fabric and Velcro sleeve that goes over all the wires. I've been seeing this more and more on bikes, and I kind of like it actually. It really contains everything really well, cleans it up pretty nice, and plus it gives them a chance to put their branding on there. So I'm happy with that. I mean, you can see how many wires e-bikes have going on at the front. It's pretty hard to keep this a clean look, and I think they did a pretty good job, as best as they can do. The wires are not hidden inside the frame at all on this bike, though. They do go on the outside, but they've got, you know, custom spots for the wires to go through and hold them very nicely. And those are, I mean, those are metal. That's not like a plastic clip. It's part of the frame welded onto the frame that the wires all run through. So it's still a nice, clean looking professional job on the bike. Now up on the handlebars for your grips, you've got leather grips. These are a little different though, because they have the locking rings on each end, which I really like. I normally don't like the leather grips with the palm rest that much. I mean, they're okay. My problem with them is they just spin in your hand constantly. These don't spin because you can lock both ends of it. So I do like these grips a lot. They look nice on there, and they're really easy to remove too. If you ever want to take them off, you just, you know, can unbolt these little rings and they slide right off. The bike has a twist throttle. Excellent. I love the twist. I think most people prefer the twist. It's pretty rare that someone tells me, oh man, I wish it had a thumb throttle. It's always like the opposite. Oh man, I like it, but it has a thumb throttle. So twist throttle on this one, I like that. This red button is for the throttle. That kind of a deactivation switch. So I guess if you are on the bike and you want to get off, but you need to hold on the handlebars to stabilize yourself, you can always turn the throttle off. That way you don't accidentally twist it. I guess maybe that is what that's for. 6 speeds on the shifter there. Again, the brakes felt awesome on this thing. Display screen, LCD 3, I think it is. I'll turn it on so you can see it. I've seen this screen on a lot of bikes. It's a good screen. I mean, it's very readable, has a ton of information on it. It's one of the better display screens to have, I think. That's probably why they use it on a lot of different bikes. It does give you a bunch of information, and there's a lot of different settings in there that you can get into and change and kind of set the bike up for how you ride. On this side of the handlebars, again, your headlight switch, turn signal switch, horn switch, and the buttons that control your display screen. And that's about all that's going on up there. The handlebars are fairly wide. I can put it on the screen. I think it was like 24.5, 25. So it doesn't give you that really narrow handlebar feeling that a lot of these folding bikes have. Now let's drop down here because I want to show you the front chainring, 52 tooth, which is awesome. That's one thing I'm always saying, that I wish it had a larger chainring because I don't like just pedaling air. I like to have feeling in the pedals all the time. I never lost feeling in the pedals on this bike because this is pretty big, and it's aluminum and it's double-sided to keep the chain on the track. And at the back of the bike, your derailleur mechanism just says Shimano on it, so I'm not sure, you know, what model that is, but it functioned just fine. I didn't really have an issue. I kept it in 6th gear most of the time. Anyway, bike also comes with a rear rack included, and also included is the suspension seat post again, and fenders. Fenders both front and back, so help keep the splash off you while you're riding. The battery is a 48 volt, 15.6 amp hour battery pack. That's a pretty big battery pack for such a small little bike. I have not done a range test on it. I might do that in the future to let you know how far this thing is gonna go, but I'm gonna guess with these smooth tires and a big battery like that and the lightweight, it's probably gonna go a pretty good range. I don't even know what they list on the website as a range, but I'm not overly concerned with range on bikes because I don't ride 60 miles at a time. I'm usually going like 20 miles or less. So this has got more than enough to do that. It's a pretty big battery pack. It's very easy to get to because on the seat, they've got this lever that tilts the seat out of the way. Perfect, absolutely perfect design. You don't have to take the seat post out to get the battery out. It just pops right out of there. The seat is great. I normally change out all my seats, but this one I won't change because it's very thick and plush and spring loaded, and it's comfy, especially with the suspension seat post in it. And ground to the top of the seat, I think, was 33 inches. And if you're a shorter rider, you could always remove this suspension seat post. I know you lose the comfort there, but it would drop this down probably a good another 2 inches at least. So you'd be left with a seat height around 31. My wife is 5'3". She was able to ride this bike. She could get on it with the seat like this, but ultimately when we took it for a ride, we took this off so she could really get her feet planted on the ground. She's got short legs, and that's what makes her feel confident, getting her feet down on the ground. So there is some, adjustment here. If you were on the shorter side and you want to really get your feet planted on the ground, you could always take that out of there. Now for your rear hub motor, it's a 500 watt e-bike, but it peaks much higher. On the display screen, there is a watt meter that shows you the output, and this bike was regularly peaking in the high 700s. It even cracked over 800 a few times. I did go in the settings and kind of just de-restrict everything to max it all out, and it was giving me some serious power. It is a zippy little bike. For this small little package to have a peak of 800 on the watts, I mean, it gets up and moves pretty quickly. I actually had to adjust that setting for my wife. It was too zippy for her. I dialed it back. There's a setting in that display screen where you can pick like a gradual start or a slow start, because it was really hitting pretty hard off the line, and she doesn't like that power delivery. She likes the smooth lead into the power. So I changed that setting, and then it was perfectly fine. She said, "Oh wow, that's like so much better," and she enjoyed it then. Enjoyed having the power, but not quite, hitting hard right off the line. I like the hard hit off the line. That's how I usually program, but she likes the gradual. It's just nice that you've got the screen that can allow you to do that on this bike. Now, I mentioned before when I had my wife take this bike for a ride, with the suspension seat post in there, the seat height is kind of tall for her. She's 5'3", and she likes to ride with her feet, when she can get her feet firmly planted on the ground. So with the suspension post in there, she could get on it, but she wasn't confident and comfortable on it. We ended up taking that post out, putting just a regular post in there with a seat on it. She felt way more confident. She could get her feet on the ground. And the only other thing she asked me to change was just the slow start setting. She wanted a more gradual power delivery. She doesn't like the really hard-hitting, strong bikes. So I changed that setting, and after that, it was set up great for her. Now, I felt great on the bike as well. I had no issue adjusting the seat and also the handlebars to the height to give me a comfortable ride position. I'm 6 feet tall with longer legs, so I kept the suspension seat post in there, and that in combination with that soft seat, I mean, it gave it a really nice ride. Now, regarding the performance of the Mini X Step Through, I took it out to the hill climb area where I test all the bikes on the same hill, and it did well. I mean, it climbed the hill under throttle power only, no problem. Like I said, this bike was peaking over 800 watts at some point, so it climbed the hill, no problem. It wasn't the fastest bike up the hill ever. I mean, it's not a hill dominating powerhouse of a bike. It does what it's supposed to do. It's a electric bike that helps you climb the hills with ease. I didn't have to assist this bike with the pedals at all. It climbed it under throttle power only with no issue. With regard to top speed, it tops out about 22 miles an hour is what you'll get out of the throttle only. If you then pedal, I think I cracked over maybe 24, close to 25 miles an hour pedaling. It's not a speed demon of a bike. This is a folding compact bike. I think it's probably meant more for someone that's gonna just kind of zip around the city or around their town, or maybe take it with them on vacation or in their RV. And if you're someone that's looking for the small compact size bike, that's, I think, what this is going for. I didn't have any issue with comfort on it or power on it. I think it has what it needs to have, honestly. And if we're talking what to know about this bike, I mean, that's going to be the first thing I say is I just think it's set up well. I said this before about the other Fabulous bike I reviewed, the Extreme bike. I feel like Fabulous just kind of gets it. I mean, if you think about all the things that are included on this bike, it's a folding bike, so it's small, compact, it's fairly lightweight. It's got a big battery pack for such a small bike, great brakes for a small little bike, great power for a small little bike. The comfort's there with the adjustability and the seat and the suspension post. They give you fenders and headlights and taillights and turn signals and rear rack, and it's all included. A big front chainring, display screen that is got some programming options in it, good grips. And I mean, I'm trying to look at this bike and think, okay, well, I mean, the design elements of the seat tipping up so you can get the battery out. And I'm trying to think of what is it missing? You know, what did they forget? Nothing's really jumping out at me as far as how to make this better. I think it's a pretty good design as it sits, and I think you're getting a pretty good bang for your buck on this one. If I'm missing something and there's a design element missing from this bike, put it in the comments. But you know, just standing here looking at it, I can't think of one thing that I'm saying to myself, oh man, I really wish it had this instead. I mean, they pretty much captured a lot of the e-bikers' wants and desires, I think, for a small folding bike like this. Now, the next need to know thing I would say is just regarding the seat height. Like I said, if you're a shorter person, the seat height might be a little challenging with the seat post. Now, here's a remedy. Number one, do like we did and just take the suspension post out of there, or look at one of the other frame designs, because they have the Havoc design, which has the rear suspension built in with a shock here in the back instead of in the seat post. So you're not going to have that, probably the same seat height. I don't know off the top of my head the Havoc's seat height, but I would imagine it is shorter than this one because you don't have the length of the suspension post in there. So just remember, I guess seat height 33 on this one is from ground to top of seat. Other important things, I mean, I think we talked about most of it already. The brakes were phenomenal on this thing. It brought this bike to a stop in a hurry. The rear motor, you know, being 500 watt, but peaking so high, you know, this is, yeah, you say, okay, it's a mini folding bike. It has a 500 watt motor, but man, it's no slouch. This thing, if you keep that fast start setting, it gets off the line quick. And it's very zippy, very nimble, light, quick, zippy feeling around town. Very quiet too. I mean, the tires are super quiet because they're not the fat tires with the knobs on them. They're the skinny street tread. So it's very smooth, very quiet, very nimble feeling around town. Again, I think it would be a great bike if you want to kind of fold it up and take it with you somewhere. And I'll give you one final walk around it here so you can see all sides of the bike. Kickstand on this side. And also here's one thing I'll point out, which kind of annoys me, but it's not a huge deal. And that is the key has to stay in the bike at all times. I mean, you can take it out, but the bike is off now. You cannot turn the bike on and take the key out. It's stuck in there, it's gotta stay in there. And this also just releases it from its track that it slides into. But minor gripe on this bike. Overall, pretty solid offering, I think. All right, that's about all the information I've got for you on the Mini X step-through bike from Fabulous. And if I missed your question, if I just totally missed it, put it in the comment section. I will do my best to answer it if I can. I will, of course, link their website and also link to this bike in the description below so you can check it out. Check out all of the bikes on their website. Actually, they've got a ton to choose from. And I've been on 2 of them now. I've been very happy with both bikes I got from Fabulous. Thank you. Extra special thank you to Fabulous for allowing me to get a chance to get out and ride this thing and put some information out there to all of you. And you know, if you like this kind of content, do me a favor, consider hitting that subscribe button. Check through some of my other videos, including the one on the EMX Extreme bike from Fabulous. And I'm curious what you guys think. If you are out there researching and hunting for a folding electric bike like this, tell me and tell Fabulous in the comments. Did they hit the mark on this one? Is there something missing? I don't see, but I think they got pretty close to an ideal bike here. So if you're looking for this style of bike, let them know what you think in the comments. I think that's all for today. So appreciate everyone for watching. Thanks.